Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tastemaker Talk, our bi-monthly webinar series where we talk about the many aspects of food blogging to help you manage your business effectively and reach your financial goals. I'm Abby Rodriguez, founder of Tastemaker, and joined as always by my lovely co-host, Candace Probst. She's the CEO of Tastemaker. By way of community updates, we are so close to Tastemaker 2025. It is happening next week, which is so fun and exciting. Can't believe it's already here. It's taking place in Las Vegas alongside the Winter Fancy Food Show. As of, I think, 2 days ago, yesterday, we are completely sold out of creator admission tickets. So if you want to come to Tastemaker 2026, please sign up for the waitlist. You can get all of that information on our website at tastemakerconference.com. And then for those of you who are joining us in Vegas, make sure to download the Whova app and you can see all of the attendee communication going live Friday, January 10th to help make this a really great event for you. So make sure you check your attendee guide for that. And Daphne will drop links in the comments and in the show notes so you can grab that. Candace, onto our sponsor spotlight and guest
Yes.
intro.
And I have to say the sold out was after we always sell out. We sold out a while ago with our 500 that we always cap it at, but we had so many creators saying, please, please, we want to come, we want to come. And we've never been over 500. We like to keep it that intimate experience. So we opened up another 100 tickets and then we were like, we cannot do more than 600. That is our max. And that's so exciting that it sold out a couple times over and that we
We
have
sold out twice.
creators that want to be involved. So we're so excited to meet all of you next week. But we are so honored to be joined by James Baldwin from Raptive for today's episode. Raptive is a strategic business partner to the industry's most successful food creators, and they are also sponsoring Tastemaker Conference 2025. Raptive provides an industry-leading ad management platform, a comprehensive suite of monetization, audience, and business solutions, and a team of 350 plus experts focused on growing your business and achieving your fullest potential. We're thrilled to have James with us today to share their insights for bloggers looking to grow and reach their goals in 2025. James, I want to say welcome to Tastemaker Talk and thanks for being here. And I'm going to ask you to tell us a bit more about your role at Raptive, but I just want to say also how impressed we've been with your Keep It Real campaign. That has been massively successful. You guys have been featured in the New York Times. You've been featured all over the globe, I think on Good Morning America, just amazing places where you are fighting hard for creator rights. And I was honored to be a part of that with you guys. And I just wanted to say thank you for all the work you do on behalf of creators.
Yes, absolutely. Michael and our whole team is just, we see the blood, sweat, and tears that creators put in. I think of, I've been at Raptive 10 years, and I think of the founders, way back when it was AdThrive, and, just, Raptive started with, hey, if we could make $500 more a month, then you can, then Kelly, who was, the wife of Andy, the founder, was, you can stay home with the kids. If your blog can make $500 more a month, you get to stay home with the kids. And, and so and we see, what some of the big platforms are doing, and we just want to make sure that creators continue to get get treated fairly and can continue to benefit as technology grows and evolves. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I love it. I love it. Well, with that, I would love to hear a little bit more. We'd love to hear a little bit more about your role at Raptive. I know you helped me personally, and we are so grateful for that as creators. Everyone's like, James, we need your help. And you're kind of the go-to. So let's hear it from your perspective, your role at
Yeah, absolutely. So I serve on a couple of teams over here at Raptive on the creator performance and the technical support teams. And those teams are really just kind of dedicated to continuing to optimize ad layouts. Oftentimes we'll try to proactively send over recommendations of how creators can make more, as the industry is always evolving. And so if your ad layout is the same as it was in 2022, it's probably out of date. And so we're constantly sending out recommendations and adjustments. Sometimes folks will email in and say, how can I adjust, or how do I make more money, or whatnot. And so we're answering those technical questions, those revenue questions, and ensuring that every creator with Raptive is earning the most money possible.
I love that.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I don't have the opportunity to have, the one-on-one relationship with you, James, like Candace does, but I've had the opportunity to meet the Raptive team, being at the Keep It Real campaign just from a tastemaker side of things, and just such an incredible company, to echo what Candace was saying, and love the focus on all of this. So we are talking about new year, new reach, helping creators, bloggers, all of you listening here, to expand your reach and having some tactical ways of doing that. Really cool. Are there specific trends that you're seeing, this year specifically pop up that you're hearing creators talk about in the food blogging industry? Like what's the trend? What's top of mind just in the chatter and feedback that you're asking or that they're
Yeah,
asking you guys for?
probably the trend. I mean, the biggest one is just the uncertainty, right? It's like
Yeah.
everybody, if I think of like, and this is probably not just the last 18 months, have chatted with hundreds of, really successful folks. And like, if they rode Facebook to the top, like Facebook is uncertain. If they rode Pinterest to the
Mhm.
top, like Pinterest is uncertain. If it's Google, like there's ebbs and flows and bounces and whatnot. But I would say that every single person that I talk to is traffic uncertainty. And if they're doing great,
Mhm.
there's still that like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the fun thing that I've seen is just people trying different things. I was just chatting with a creator, and this, I don't know that I recommend this to everyone. She'd like found a niche on MSN. She's like crushing
Oh,
it, bringing
wow.
traffic, like not what you normally would expect. And
Yeah.
I think the trend is maybe like getting away from like, oh yeah, if I, do this SEO audit or I do this thing and we're all kind of doing the
Mhm.
same thing. And now it's like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm over here in this, niche. There's lots of niche channels and like, and I found an audience and I'm engaging with them and building relationships and whatnot. And it's kind of like, I feel like maybe food blogs started with like, oh, here's this face of this person. Then it kind of got like generic, like faceless, nameless a lot of times. And now I think we're
Yep.
getting back to that world where like the creator
Mhm.
is really, really important.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it's creator first. It's like you are a personality. The brand identity is you. We want to talk to people. We want to
Mhm.
connect with people, especially, right, as we become like an AI automated world. And I love that there might be this emerging trend of get back to your playfulness and your curiosity and not following this templated structure. I think there's a
Yeah.
lot of power in that, and that feels like a good New Year's resolution almost for business and work. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking just on Monday, I believe, about food trends, and we kind of want to say things like, the peppers and mushrooms and things like that. But we actually talked about a lot of the food trends being getting back to baking from scratch, eating to nourish your gut health. All of these things, people are looking for that experience, and I think it goes right into why it's important to engage with your audience in a unique way, like you're talking about, and
Mhm.
and providing that. So with that being said, what are some of the key factors that contribute to achieving industry leading RPMs, and how does Raptive support creators in maximizing their ad revenue?
Mhm. Yeah. I think there's three key factors, Candace. The first one is really you kind of have to take a unique approach for each site. Like there are certainly best practices that, if you're listening to this, you probably have a food site. And so, but people behave differently even between food sites that look similar. That's one of the biggest things we've learned over these, 10 years is that uh, you can't just take a one size fits all approach. And so that's why like on my teams, like we have about 40 people of analysts and technical support engineers dedicated to helping creators dial in their ad layout for revenue and kind of based on how readers behave on their site. So on some sites it's like, you know, 60, 70, 80% of the time maybe spent on the recipe card. On others, that could be like, oh, there's 50% of the time is spent up on the how-to and whatnot. And then that can even vary from page to page of like, different categories on your site and whatnot. And so a lot of what we focus on is like really dialing in the ad layout and to get, kind of the ads where on your site readers are spending their time, right? Advertisers want their ads to show up where readers are. So that is, one of the biggest things. Or like some sites have engagement in the comments. Like, okay, well, if you have great engagement down there, then we'd want to show an ad or two in your comments. Whereas, some sites don't have many comments at all. And that doesn't really make sense. So that's the first thing is just a very personalized approach. Second thing is our direct sales team. Our direct sales team is amazing, and they've been hard at work out in the marketplace for years, kind of telling the story of creators to the big brands and agencies. And really, I would say we kind of made a significant investment in 2023. And so in 2024, we really saw just amazing results this past year. And brands, they want to collaborate with authentic creators, like real humans, much more than just, again, some corporate kind of faceless site. And what we've seen kind of amazing growth is they're like, because still big brands are like, like these are like, is this a mom blog? Is this a food, like what is, a food blog?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, like not kind of like it started that way, but it's a big deal. It's a real business now. And so they, they'll spend a little bit of money. Like this sounds appealing. They'll spend a little bit of money. Like, oh my goodness, this is real content. These are real readers. They're highly engaged and whatnot. And then we see the results as then those advertisers come back as they realize, oh, I'm getting a way better return on investment, on these, blogs than if I, was investing on some, just big faceless food site. So for us, that's driving incredible RPM growth. And then, just kind of as we look into the future, it's uncertain, but we've made some very large investments in the future in building things for, when cookies go away. And a lot of these things are kind of completely behind the scenes because that's just the way that the programmatic and direct sales, all of that kind of works is you may not understand why one ad shows up versus another ad, but a lot of that is just like, a lot of investments we've made to, things like partnerships to help us recognize readers. If somebody wants personalized ads, like how can we give them the best ad possible? And, third-party cookies are going away. They've been going away for a while. They're going to be, TBD. There's lots of, speculation and whatnot, but it's probably this year, third-party cookies are going to go away. And, whatever user choice Google gives is probably going to be like what Apple gives on your iPhone of like, no, I don't want that scary tracking. I don't want those delicious, scary third-party cookies. And so, we're making a lot of investments that really drive substantial RPM increases. And some of those are exclusive to Raptive. Like those are partnerships you can't get at any other ad management company. And so, we've invested in a brand new video player. It's driven amazing growth in video revenue and is much lighter on the page and whatnot. So, and a lot of that's going to continue into 2025.
That's so exciting. And honestly, I have been so impressed with the beautiful ads on Raptive sites. They're eye-catching, they're 3D, they've been overlaid on other things that are just so beautiful when you see the Hershey's ad coming out when you're on a chocolate chip cookie, recipe, or seeing just the most beautiful ads I've ever seen. I've been so impressed. And I've actually had another friend and I were screenshotting because we were like, we're screenshotting ads. That's how beautiful they are. Wow, that's impressive. and so bravo on what you've done because it's really working on us on, the creators are impressed with the ads on their site, the quality. I've heard that time and again. But not only that, the users are enjoying it because, like you said, it's directly for what they're, doing, whatever they're making. So really great job. So with that, what are some of the common ad related challenges creators face? And I know you talked about them a little bit, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about how your team is addressing some of those challenges that are coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's really kind of two sides of a balance that are the big challenge I think that creators have faced for a while and are going to continue to face. On one hand, we have the user experience, right? If users have a terrible time on your site, they're not going to come back. And then you're really, frankly, like no matter how much you earn, you're sacrificing the future of your site and your business. We don't want that. You don't want that. And so this last year, we've actually dedicated one of our whole ad code teams to user experience and ad experience to make sure to make it lighter and faster and just not, they're just on these automated systems sometimes can spit out something you're like, that was not, that was not good. And so we've spent a lot of time on that. We're going to continue, but they've been hard at work fixing some of the things that, just have maybe been issues over the years, making our ads faster. And we're seeing the fruit of that. I think like Google uses their core web vitals to measure user experience. And so we've spent a lot of time making sure that our ads have minimal impact on that. And a lot of creators are, this last year, Google rolled out INP as one of their new core web vitals, which kind of measures how quickly a site becomes interactive. That if you get to a site and you're tapping jump to recipe and it's like, it's not jumping, that's a pretty terrible experience. And so from what we're seeing from publicly available data, this is data Google publishes, it looks like Raptive sites in general are doing better with this metric than sites running other ads. So we're very, very excited just to see that, like, hey, we've made some investments there and we're seeing the fruit, and readers are having a better experience on folks' site. Then the flip side is that advertisers want to pay for ads where readers are, right? Like if you think of ads like a billboard, advertisers want that billboard on a street where people drive, and in their view as they drive, not like on the side street, that you have to turn, that kind of makes sense. And the same sort of mindset applies to your ads on your food site. Generally speaking, readers are going to spend time in a few places. The step-by-step kind of breakdown up in the post is, one place, and kind of depends too on the complexity of the recipe, and like how much do I need to see all these images and whatnot, versus like, baking bacon in the oven, which like you probably don't need the step-by-step as a normal reader. And then the other place is the recipe card. And those are the two main places. And some sites have, unique situations where it's like, hey, I always have this little section where I have my hints or my, whatever. And so we work to analyze that. But kind of the key thing that I'd love, for food creators to understand is that advertisers want to show ads where readers are spending their time. And sometimes we can get like, oh, I'm going to use a Gutenberg block to like push ads completely out of this how-to section. Like you can. It's just that that's where the readers are spending their time. So that's like the valuable place to put an ad. And if you don't put an ad there, then you're really going to like minimize the value that you can get for your business from those visits. So now it's a balance, right? You don't want just step ad, step ad, step ad like that. That's too much. But we want to kind of get that nice balance and whatnot. And so again, sometimes it's like, hey, could you allow ads into that step by step? But could you maybe dial your ad density down? We've seen a lot of folks who maybe got a little aggressive with ad density over the years. And it's like, okay, dial that down, allow ads more places, especially the places where readers are. And that's going to be a big thing. But like kind of similar, like in your recipe card, used to be like one recipe ad. Well, now if 65% of your reader's time is spent on the recipe card, you kind of need, you need the ads kind of spaced in between your instructions, as you kind of always want one ad on screen. It's kind of my general rule of thumb, and whatnot. And just that's going to kind of maximize your ad revenue, but you don't want to get two on screen. Sometimes I can see like two, really close, or like there's an instruction, there's another one. It's like, ooh, that's a little close, and whatnot. And so we just wanted to kind of balance those of like, we want ads where the readers are, because that's where they're going to pay the best. But we also need to be respectful and really optimize for user experience.
That's great. And I know I've experienced, I think there was a mindset with creators of like just less. Then we've learned, like you said, that if they're spending 65% of their time in the recipe card, well, let's maximize there. And not only that, I think a lot of creators, I hope this is okay, but I think a lot of creators are not aware that you can actually have ads on your print page. That was so exciting. That was one of the things that I was like, James, let's get this on there, because if they go to print, if they click print and it opens up on their computer and they're leaving it there for how long, why would you not run ads there?
Mm-hmm.
This is a place where you can absolutely maximize your revenue. And I think a lot of creators don't even know it's an option. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was really exciting. I had no idea.
Yes.
I'm grateful. Actually, my friend Erin from Meaningful Eats, she's the one who told me, because her wonderful leader told her at Raptive and said, hey, you might want to give this a try. And I think her ad revenue grew a great percentage just from adding that one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna be honest, this was an idea that didn't even come from us. It was from some creator had asked us like, hey, I want to do this. And we're like, it doesn't seem like a great idea. And months later, we were analyzing her data, and I was like, from what I see here, readers are spending like 15 minutes on average on your print page. So there is a little bit of a phenomena that readers appear to be like maybe clicking the print button and not actually printing. My wife is a printer, so like I was like, I don't know, it takes her 2 seconds to hit print, but like the folks are actually going there and cooking, from what we can see. And so yeah, so it makes a ton of sense to add a few ads on your print pages, just to make sure that those it can be 2-3% more revenue for folks, which is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So, with the privacy regulations and third-party cookies that you discussed, those tasty third-party cookies, changing and impacting digital advertising, what strategies should food bloggers adopt to future-proof their revenue?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, privacy is really important. And the reality is that like in our space, in the food space, uh, if I guess if you're running your own ads, like you got to make sure they're compliant, like, and you're managing things like I don't know too many folks in that boat anymore. But like the big thing is that you trust that your ad management company has like compliance front of mind. I know on the Raptive side, we go beyond what privacy regulations require in the United States and other places. Um, to ensure that, like, this is kind of an example. I live in North Dakota. There are no privacy laws here. But even here, if you select in your browser the global privacy control, which is in California, you have to listen to that. Websites have to listen to that in California. In North Dakota, they don't necessarily. We've just taken up, hey, across the United States and really, I think like across the world or large parts of the world, like if somebody has opted out of personalized ads via the global privacy control or the US privacy API, there's different ways that folks can do it. Then we're just going to honor that. Even if there's no laws that say we have to, just because that's kind of, we want to treat readers the way they want to be treated. Now, the percentage of folks who care super deeply about that isn't wildly high, but like that's how, we want to preserve personalized ads, because if all personalized ads went away, that would be really bad for creators. So we kind of go above and beyond there. And we take that approach in other parts of the world too. It's just there's a lot of nuance. So that's like one thing. And then the nice thing is as privacy laws pop up, like generally, we have a team who's reading them and whatnot. It's like, okay, yep, this is very similar to what California did, and that's covered already by what we're already doing there, so we're already compliant. So that's the big thing on regulations. In respect to third-party cookies, they're still going away. We don't know when. I was hearing some rumors that it was like, oh, in the next couple of quarters. Who knows? There's regulators and governments involved, and those things can be very slow to change. But I know that there's a lot of urgency on Google's side to like, hey, we want to, they want to get rid of third-party cookies and whatnot. So we are preparing a ton. And probably, again, like now they've said, hey, we're going to give users a choice. But if you look at what Apple does in their apps, of like they have this pop-up and it's like, there are some scary trackers, and whatnot, and just install a new app and you'll see it. And apps like desperately try to like say like, okay, there's going to be a pop-up on the next screen that looks scary, but please hit allow tracking because that's going to allow us to make money. We have no idea the interface exactly, but we suspect, given that Google's a tech company, that they're going to adopt something that encourages most folks to opt out of third-party cookies. So in our mind, third-party cookies are dead. They might be around a little bit, but in our mind, they're dead. And they're already gone in Safari. They're gone in Firefox. They're gone actually on Chrome on your iPhones and iPads and whatnot already. So that's guiding us. Hopefully Google does something beneficial for creators, but hope isn't our strategy. For creators, probably 90% of the work of replacing third-party cookies and for privacy is going to be behind the scenes for your ad company. You have to kind of pick that partner that you trust is going to do that work. Much of the exclusive relationships that on the Raptive side we've been invested in are partners that help us show personalized ads even when third-party cookies are gone. And that's why like we've seen tremendous RPM growth. That's why we're seeing tremendous RPM growth in November and December and into January here. We're seeing great results as those partners kind of continue to help us show amazing ads to readers and whatnot. And even on Safari right now where there's no third-party cookies. And then we've built in some amazing solutions where kind of the success of one Raptive creator kind of supports the success of all Raptive creators in recognizing readers, even on traffic that doesn't have third-party cookies. Now, I can talk for an hour, and I apologize, I'm like rambling on, but the things that we're about, all we're doing to boost ad revenue and third-party cookies and whatnot. So if you're asked at Tastemakers in Vegas, I'd be happy to chat there. We can get drinks, we can get breakfast, we can do whatever. I love chatting about that sort of stuff. And it's whatnot. Now, in terms of creators, there's the 10%, right? 90% is on your ad company. 10% is on like on what can you do? And that's really like building an email list and then getting those people to come back. Sometimes I see things that are like very like one-time transaction, like I got this, and then there's no follow-up. And that that's like kind of unfortunate. Just getting that email address doesn't really help you a ton. But and then too, like just building that engagement with your audience, having that conversation with your audience, right? I see these rates of like who is getting the most email IDs and whatnot, which is like really the ad side of getting an email subscriber. And I can tell you, it's the people who are like themselves, who are having this conversation, who are like deeply engaged. And like sometimes, yeah, their main thing is food. And then they're like, they're breaking all of the SEO rules we've been told, like, oh, focus on this. And then they're like, here's all of the random things that I saw on the internet of like the things that I'm interested in. And, here's a skincare product and here's some, jeans and, whatever. And it's like, and I'm like, I see their data of like, wow, readers are hyper engaged. They love this and whatnot. And that those are the sort of things that maybe you did in the old days, that like what we're seeing is like it's building a personal brand, it's whatnot, but it's not like just it doesn't feel like anyway a corporate strategy. It's like just a person being a person and like engaging with people, and people really love it and whatnot. So, and then you own your audience, right? Google, Facebook, Pinterest are going to do their things, but like when you have an email list, you own that, and you can reach those people. So, sorry to ramble on and on.
It's
No,
great.
I love hearing your passion and like your knowledge. And I think these are the types of things that people want to hear on webinars, or if they're listening to the recording, on the MP3, on our podcast platform on Spotify. It's the juicy nuggets with all the details that it's like, hey, I've heard the same thing over and over again. What is fresh and what is happening currently that people can be doing? And I think that's so interesting. As you've been saying, James, this shift back to becoming a personality, because I mean, I've been doing content creation since 2009, right? At the beginning of it, when it was I still call it the Wild West, but it was truly the Wild West then, where we were just like, oh, here I am, I have a blog spot, and people want to give me money, and like, oh, you want to send me a product, and it kind of, it was fun, and it was a little bit wild and free. And I think that is an interesting thing about having an online business, having a website, being in the creator economy and in this space. So I think that is interesting to hear, that maybe food creators are starting to branch out into other ways that they can make money, and it's not just necessarily food. It'll be interesting to see the data unfold as the niches, if niches start to cross over a little bit more. Have you noticed anything like that happening? Do you have
Um,
enough data for it?
I would not. I think like what we
Hmm.
see is just like individuals doing kind of like
Like
these
living
random,
life?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm doing this or I'm doing that, or
Hmm.
people like just being very entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
and trying things, and there's failures and there's these wild successes, and
Yeah.
whatnot. So, but yeah, I don't have like, I have a lot of fun stories, but I don't
Hmm.
have a coherent data driven story to.
Sure. Well, I mean, we're here for storytelling. I mean, that's good branding. So remember that, everyone. And I think like this next question, and James, you might not have all the information here, but I think it's something to call out and just have an open discussion around, is the video content, how
Mhm.
it continues to grow in importance, right? We've known this for years. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on video's role in driving audience engagement and revenue for food creators through 2025 and beyond?
Yeah. I mean, video. So I guess I would encourage, like, video is very post specific, very recipe specific, right? Like some recipes maybe don't need a video, and some could be very helpful. So, and one of the big things that we're working on is trying to help folks, to help creators like repurpose video. So, hey, if you're doing an Instagram reel, the kids are doing these TikTok things. But like, like whatever you're doing is like, how can we help you repurpose that? Because too, what we're realizing is that video kind of got optimized for like, you know, desktop, or whatnot. And like, I don't think people are going to necessarily flip their phones, for and watch a recipe video, but they may like watch it in vertical. So there's a lot of interesting things that we're experimenting with there, and whatnot. I can't let too many cats out of the bag there, but it's just like I would just encourage folks to try stuff, try different orientations, right? 85-ish% of your traffic is going to be on mobile. And so like just kind of thinking through like, okay, how do I really optimize for those readers? And then two, just thinking through like kind of the life cycle of like, okay, if you can, video is so eye-catching on social platforms and get so much engagement there. It's like, okay, how can you kind of use those similar principles, and like when you get those readers on your site, you may not need to get them, they don't need the whole, post anymore. Now it's like, yep, like you're straight to the recipe card or whatnot. So there's different things. I think there's, pardon me, lots of different just engagement strategies that they can use, that creators can use to like think through like, okay, I've used this great video, and now what's the missing piece? Well, the missing piece is just like probably the quantity of ingredients, and like really thinking through like this streamlined reader experience to like, okay, get you right to what you need, and whatnot. But then too, like, how do you get that little bit deeper engagement? Because like social engagement's very fickle. So like, okay, it's like I want to get you to the ingredients, make a little money for some ads, and then I want to like trigger an email pop up or something, or some call to action to try to like deepen the relationship and go beyond just acquaintances on social to like be friends on email.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love that we
Fantastic.
talked about multiple different things, from video to email to third-party cookies, and all the different ways that we can really make the experience great for our, as creators, for those who come to our site. So I want to ask kind of a, cheeky question. What are some underutilized revenue opportunities that you see food bloggers missing out on? And how can Raptive help them capitalize on some of these?
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Again, I'll note that every site is different. And, I know there's some sites that have been with Raptive for like 14 years, longer than I have. And over the years, like what we see is that folks will make a decision like, I don't know if I like that inner scroller ad, which is like the one where like you're on your phone and the page kind of like breaks and there's a full screen ad and then you keep going. So like what we see is over time, people have maybe made decisions like, I don't want that, or like, I only want, one recipe ad, or, whatnot. And so if you're with Raptive, the easiest thing to do is just reach out. My team is standing by, and we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you, within a day or tomorrow. Like we'll get you back to you really quick with like, hey, what can I do to make more money? We're like, we have a team that this is their job, is constantly going through our list of sites, sending out emails, and but we also know that emails get missed, and so we're always happy to have folks kind of just ask us like, hey, what's the latest and greatest? What can I do? There's lots of different things. So what, Chen, is you stole my print page ads idea. That was number one on my list. So on the Raptive side, and actually I saw this with Mediavine and Big Scoots. So one thing is we both have a Cloudflare worker thing. It's very technical. I'm not going to get into all the details, but if you're with Raptive or Mediavine, Raptive, it works with if you have Cloudflare, I would highly recommend setting up our Cloudflare worker. That just allows one of the first party cookies that we set on your site to last 400 days on Safari. Safari is like, sees a cookie and they're like, ooh, this is from ads. And so they delete it in 7 days. But like, so then like if a reader comes back 10 days later, we have a lot of things that hopefully recognize them, but it's not like 1,000% guarantee. Whereas with the Cloudflare worker, we can set a cookie that Safari doesn't delete for over a year. So that's just a big thing. I know Mediavine had that kind of come out as well. So I would encourage food creators, regardless of who you work with, get that set up. That's going to be, it's not huge amounts of revenue today, but over time it's going to be a really, really big deal. The second thing is to reduce clutter in your recipe card, especially in this zone on mobile between your ingredients and your instructions. Okay, that is the most valuable place on your site. Okay, now maybe you have a call to action there, like maybe you have an email sign up there and you're like, wow, that's like killing it for me. That converts 1 or 2% of the time. Like I'm, really, really raking in the email addresses, or, or Pinterest follows, or, all these different things. Like that's fantastic. As long as that's earning its spot, great. But sometimes we'll see like a button there to do something. And I'm like, how much value are you getting from this? And they're like, I don't know, I like it. Like, like, or, like, oh, some readers have said they like, this thing here. I'm like, okay, well, like a button in between your ingredients and instructions is probably hurting your RPM by like $1 to $3. Kind of, it varies, but like it's probably the biggest RPM hurting thing I see creators do. So I always like caution, like, hey, be very careful with putting things in there. And then too, that also applies to margin and padding, that like anything that kind of shoves your ads away from your content, because like readers are there for your content, and really what we want is, they'll kind of scroll the ads off screen, but sometimes they'll only scroll them like 40% off screen. But then if there's a bunch of margin, then they'll scroll it 80% off screen. and an ad that's 80% off screen can't refresh. And that's true for Mediavine, Raptive, whatever. Like we have to have an ad viewable before we can refresh it. And so that's just one of the things I just like clean up, the things, and just make sure. Sometimes I'll see people with like 96 pixels of padding above their recipe heading or their instructions and ingredients. And I'm like, oof, you're probably hurting your revenue by 2%. And you think like, a food creator, maybe you're making $75,000 a year, like 2% is like $3,000. And it's like, do you love that padding and margin $2,000 to $3,000 worth? Probably not. So that's like something to be very cognizant of, especially with redesigns. We see a lot of people with these beautiful redesigns and they're like, why did I hurt my earnings? I'm like, oh, well, this and this and this. And they're like, oh, I didn't, I made decisions based on what was beautiful or whatnot. And so it just encourage people to kind of take that into account, that sometimes you can open up so much space that people will scroll your ads off screen too quick. And finally, optimizing your recipe card ads for folks with Raptive. Just ask the team. We don't have this as like a setting because each recipe card and each of your preferences, each of how you're doing your recipes is slightly different. So just ping the team, say, hey, are my recipe ads optimized? And what that means is that, like, hey, as you're scrolling through the recipe card, maybe you have a really long recipe, that there could be multiple ads, as one scrolls off, another one is, scrolls on. With Mediavine, that is, you can actually adjust it yourself. It's in the recipe ads section of your settings, and then settings / in content settings, and then just check your recipe instruction density. You want that set to, you probably set to default unless you have like images in your instructions, in which case you want to go with medium or low. Just encourage folks to test this out. And this is just something I work with a bunch of folks, and it's like, they're like, oh, I didn't even know there was a setting there. And I'm like, ooh, yeah, you miss out on 3, 4, 5, 8% of revenue, depending on how long your recipe ads are. So we just encourage folks just to like make sure that that's dialed in. For the new year, RPMs are down in January, which is no fun, but they're going to get better. And so let's just dial in our ad layouts so that we're set as RPMs increase throughout the year.
I think that's great. And that's a good reminder. I think a lot of people that's the question everybody has. Don't you hear it every January? Are RPMs supposed to be cut in half? Well, yes, every single January. And so I think that's something to be aware of. And I just wanted to say that I personally have appreciated the one-on-one help, and you guys have been great. And I appreciate that you're, like you said, if someone reaches out to you, you're willing to help them. And I absolutely seen that firsthand. I had my best month last month ever in how many years of blogging. And it was so exciting. And it was even with a little less Google traffic than other years have happened. And so what that tells me is that the RPM was dialed in where it needed to be. So, and that was absolutely because James helped me, because I asked, and there were things that I didn't know how to do. And instead of just saying, well, figure it out, you said, I can help you with that. And you were there to help. So I appreciate that. And I very much appreciate when people's words match their actions. So thank you for that. And I want to ask one last quick question to wrap things up. If you could give one piece of advice for food bloggers, to food bloggers for sustainable growth in 2025, what would that be?
Yeah. It's just to stay encouraged. I've chatted with more food creators in the last year they've been discouraged, been beaten up by algorithm changes. They're kind of at their wits' end and thinking like, it's done. It's done. I had a good ride. But some of them, and like, they've kind of pressed through and they've gotten back to the things that helped them in the first place. They're trying completely new traffic sources, new strategies on the different social platforms to kind of feed the social platforms what they want, and they've rebuilt their businesses. And I cannot tell you, just like, it's just a person to talk to these, folks. And it's like, oh my goodness, I rebuilt my traffic. I can't believe it. I thought it was doomed. Whatever. And I've done it. And those are just, it really gives life and gives kind of purpose to what we do. Is like, hey, we're helping them turn that traffic into money, paying their bills and whatnot. And so I just want to encourage you, like, other people are figuring it out. And you're sitting in this conversation because you've already built something bigger and better than 99% of the folks who have started a website. And I just want to encourage you, even if traffic is done, you can do it again. Like, seen it, other people are doing it. It's hard, not here to like sugarcoat it, but like, you can do it. We believe in you, and anything we can do to help, we would love to partner with you.
I think that's great. And I'll tell you, starting my second site was a humbling experience to start from scratch. I was like, oh my goodness, wow, that is not easy. It's not easy. And so I can understand why people would be discouraged. But I like what you said, and this is a good thing to remember, that you've already built something that more than 99% of people who started a website have done. Because like you said, those who are on with an ad network or those who are, getting that traffic are in the top 1%, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
So
exactly.
that's a good reminder. It's hard when we start comparing within that 1%, but step back and look how big how big that is and how far you've come. So I think that's great advice. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, James. And I think we are just so aligned on our goals of empowering creators. And I love the optimism of just stay encouraged. That's why Tastemaker exists, right? That's why Raptive exists. I think at its core, it's like we're here to support one another in this industry. So I love being aligned on those brand values there. So once again, thank you, James, for joining us for episode 18. I can't believe we've already done 18 of these of Tastemaker Talk. We're very inspired by the ways Raptive is helping creators succeed. So where can our listeners connect with you or learn more about Raptive?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just drop me an email, my email is james@raptive.com. I'm happy to have folks reach out and we can talk about your site or whatnot. It's not good news is I'm not a salesperson, so I don't need to like get you to come over here, but I'm happy to just chit chat and like take a look and whatnot. If I get an overwhelming number of emails, I might have some of my team jump in and help as well. But that's the biggest place. If you want to check out more on Raptive, it's just raptive.com. Is our website that kind of gives you an idea of whatnot. There's an apply button there. But to love just hearing from folks, engaging and answering questions or whatnot directly if you want.
Perfect. Thanks, James. And if you're feeling excited to connect with Raptive at Tastemaker Conference 2025, be sure to download the Whova app and schedule a one-on-one meeting with their team when it launches on January 10th. We'll drop that link one more time before we go, and it will also be in your attendee emails for everyone who's watching or listening to the replay. We have a beautiful tech suite that's sponsored by Yahoo for creators, and that is where all of our amazing brands like Raptive will be doing those one-on-one meetings. They're 15 minutes set just with you, which is pretty incredible to sit down one-on-one with your ad network or with your email provider. I know Haley from ConvertKit literally had back-to-back meetings the entire 2 days because it is truly a place where you can sit down in person with these wonderful experts. So again, thank you, and we'll drop that link for you.
All right. And lastly, don't forget to tune into our next episode, which is on Friday, January 10th, where we will be chatting with Chicory. Thanks for being here, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.